Hello everyone and welcome to day 5 of our Boomtown build camp. Today is all about accessibility and ensuring that our designs are as accommodating to everyone as possible. So that's today's mission, is to design a building or design buildings that are accessible to people of all abilities. If you are using your engineering notebook, this does take place on page 12. This is session 4, Make It Accessible. And in our engineering notebook, we kind of get this picture of this door with stairs coming up to it. Not very accessible to people with limited mobility. So if you want to start here in your engineering notebook, this is a great place to kind of think about, how could everyone get inside this building? Because if you're in a wheelchair, you can't get up these stairs. Or, if you have trouble walking, or let's say you're carrying some boxes, how are you going to open this door? That door looks pretty heavy. So just kind of thinking about how do we make things easy for everyone. One more thing to notice, there's no signs around the door. How do we know where this door goes or what this is for? So signage is also important, especially for those who might be blind or colorblind or have vision impairment. So just thinking about all these different things to make buildings as accessible and easy for all people to use. All right, so our activity, we really just have one big activity today. We've got a lot of learning about different abilities and what accessible design is versus universal design. So just kind of talking about what these different things mean. There's a great quote from the University of Washington right here about how accessibility, its characteristics, services, facilities, all the different responsibilities that a building designer has in building a building that can accommodate everyone. So we're just going to go quickly through this. These you guys can read yourselves or have your parents help you read it. But essentially we kind of go through impaired vision is our first step. So talking about people who might be blind, might have trouble seeing, and there's actually many different conditions that people find themselves in. If you see someone with a walker, it doesn't mean that they can't see just black. They're not totally blind. Sometimes they have impaired vision, or they might be colorblind. So there's many reasons. We don't want to make assumptions about people, but we do want to anticipate how we can design the best building for them. So we're going to talk about some accommodations for impaired vision. So one of them is having contrast colors. These might be complementary colors on the color wheel, but sometimes the complementary colors on a color wheel run into colorblindness. So these are some great contrasting colors. Notice how when we're looking at them, it's clearly defined the difference between these two. So rather than using different shades of a color, going completely opposite colors to really make them stand out. We want to use this when we're marking where crosswalks are. Look at the sign up here, even look at the difference between the outline here and the brick behind it. Very contrast. Crosswalks are white, the road is black. So we're using those colors to really help somebody who might be visually impaired. Another accommodation we want to look at is color blindness, and I go through some of the different types of color blindness. You can see that there are a variety of different ways that people see the world around us. Different colors kind of blend together in these different ones. These are a little bit more muted. All of a sudden I can't tell the difference between green and red in this one. I can't even really tell the difference between green and blue in this one. So there's all sorts of different types of color blindness, and thinking about how we can accommodate those. If you're curious to see if you might be colorblind or have difficulty with one of these, it's a whole spectrum. Just because you have a little bit of trouble doesn't mean you're fully colorblind, but there's some good tests to see if you are. And so you look inside each circle here, and there are a a number or numbers, like 12 has a 1 and a 2. So some of them are multi-digit numbers. There's also this website where you can take a colorblind test if you are having trouble seeing any of these. And then we have true blindness out there. And even true blindness doesn't mean that somebody just sees black. So there's a whole bunch of different types of blindness and to different severities. So if you click this link, they have some really good visuals on what those different blindness types look like. It's actually really interesting to learn. And this is from the Perkins School for the Blind. And so accommodating these people, we need, textured surfaces, maybe even incorporating sounds for them. If you've ever been to a crosswalk and you push the button, you'll know it says wait, or it starts beeping when it's time to cross. And then for signs, we have an entire alphabet system that is designed around accommodating those who are blind, and that's called Braille. And so I would like you guys, because Braille uses a grid system and Legos are basically grids, so can you use the Lego around you to create your name or to spell something in Braille. So here's one way that you could do it, using some bricks that you might have. Or I did another version here with flowers on these. And can you read this? Do you know what this says? Let me know if you figure it out. Step 2 is accommodating people with hearing impairment. This one's hard to do with Lego because typically to accommodate hearing impairment, we use auditory systems. Auditory meaning sound. And so you'll notice, like at school during a fire drill, you not only hear that loud siren that's going off, but there's also lights flashing and exit signs light up, things like that. So this is harder to do with Lego, but it's important to kind of think about those who might have hearing loss or hearing impairment and how we might accommodate them. And the last step that we're going to do, talking about different types of accessibility, is accommodating those with limited mobility. So limited mobility isn't just people in wheelchairs, it's an entire spectrum again, from people who just have difficulty walking, or maybe limited mobility in their hands or arms, so they might have trouble opening doors or using a handrail. So lots of different accommodations. So ramps, any public building that you go into, you might notice that it also has a ramp going up to it. That is a requirement of buildings in the United States. So if you go into a restaurant or you go into any kind of public building, so fire station, police station, school, library, anything like that, if there's a staircase, then you'll see a ramp somewhere nearby. So it's kind of nice that we are accommodating as many people as we can in our new designs. One thing you can do with Lego is use the crane and the elevator. So maybe we've got a staircase, but then we also have this elevator as well. So I would like to see some incorporation, maybe of an elevator in some kind of design today. Now, if you have a WeDo 2.0, you could do automatic doors. And I just included automatic doors here because it's a great example of universal design. So universal design is something that benefits everyone and not just someone with a special disability. So something like an automatic door, yes, it helps someone in a wheelchair or someone who can't use their arms, but it also benefits like a delivery guy whose arms are full, or a mother pushing a stroller. If you have a shopping cart in your hand and you're entering a store, so automatic doors are called universal design because they benefit everyone. If you have a WeDo 2.0 robot, then you could make the automatic door with the motion sensor. You can watch my YouTube tutorial here to figure out how to do it. And some other accommodations like escalators and people movers. And in the future, I kind of talked about it's kind of silly, but maybe robotic hoverboards that people can ride around on, segways, maybe even drones. Maybe even people could fly around spaces in drones. So here's step 4. This is your final project today. This is what we're building, is another building. We're going to be doing lots of buildings during this camp. So I want you to do another building. It could be a redesign of what you did on Thursday, or you could do something completely new and really just showcase all of the different accessible design elements that we've talked about today. All right, so here's just some ideas like using contrasting colors, incorporating textures in Braille, ramps, elevators, signage, textures, all sorts of the things that we talked about. Can you incorporate them? All right, don't forget to share anything that you make today. We're interested in seeing what kind of accessible design you're able to come up with. If you spell your name in Braille, you can take a picture of that. That's really fun as well. And I hope you guys have a great time. And the next time you guys go into a store or a public building, I want you to look around and see all of the ways that accessible design was incorporated. All right, have fun today.